It's so deeply woven into our culture that most people never stop to question it. The idea is simple, almost comforting. The number in your bank account is the ultimate measure of success. If it's big enough, you've made it. You've won. But history, economic history, and personal history tells a very different story. Again and again, we see people who controlled more money than entire nations, yet ended up powerless, ruined, or completely forgotten. And we also see others who never held enormous fortunes, but built something far more durable, something that lasted. Value. Real value. The kind that doesn't disappear when markets crash or currencies collapse. Once you understand the difference between wealth and value, something becomes very clear. Most people are chasing the wrong prize, and that race almost always ends badly. To see why, let's start in one of the richest courts the world has ever known, France, under King Louis XIV. By the early 1700s, the Sun King had transformed Versailles into the center of European luxury. Gold leaf everywhere, endless marble halls, gardens designed to impress and intimidate. It was wealth on full display. Nobles spent fortunes just to keep up. Silks from China, sugar from the colonies, wine from Bordeaux. Everything was about appearance. And on the surface, France looked unimaginably rich. But underneath, that wealth was fragile. The economy depended on war plunder, colonial extraction, and debt. Taxes crushed the peasants, while the nobility and clergy contributed almost nothing. And while the palace glittered, the financial system beneath it was quietly hollowing out. Then came John Law. In the early 1700s, this Scottish financier became France's Controller General of Finances. His solution was paper money and the Mississippi Company. At first, it seemed miraculous. Fortunes multiplied overnight. Nobles and merchants watched their wealth grow faster than they'd ever imagined. But it wasn't real. The company's profits were exaggerated. Its land in Louisiana was wildly oversold. And when confidence collapsed in 1720, the paper wealth vanished almost instantly. Those who chased fast money were wiped out. Those who held land, skills, and productive assets survived. This was one of Europe's earliest modern lessons in the difference between apparent wealth and real value. And the pattern repeats. In the 1920s, American investors treated the stock market like a one-way elevator to the top. Cars, radios, skyscrapers, everything pointed toward endless progress. Speculators borrowed heavily, building fortunes out of leverage and optimism. Then came 1929. Markets collapsed. Paper wealth evaporated. And once again, the survivors weren't those with impressive portfolios, but those with assets that still worked. Farms that grew food, factories that produced essentials, businesses that met real needs. The lesson hadn't changed. It was just ignored again. Money is not value. Money is a claim on value. And when the value disappears, the money means nothing. That's the uncomfortable truth about much of what we call wealth today. Stocks depend on expectations. Real estate depends on interest rates and sentiment. Even currencies only hold value as long as people trust the institutions behind them. Lose that trust, and wealth turns to dust. We've seen it before. The Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. In every case, people who measured their success in local currency lost everything. Those who held hard assets or transferable skills kept something real. So what is value? Value is the ability to produce, to endure, and to remain useful no matter what's happening financially. It can be a skill, a network, a productive asset, or knowledge that solves urgent problems. Value holds when markets panic. It holds when currencies fail, because people still need it. Japan's bubble economy in the 1980s shows this clearly. At its peak, the land under Tokyo's Imperial Palace was said to be worth more than all the real estate in California. Japanese companies bought iconic landmarks around the world. On paper, Japan looked unstoppable. Then the bubble burst. Trillions in wealth disappeared. Stocks collapsed. Property values fell for years. But Japan didn't disappear. Why? Because the country still had value. An educated workforce, world-class manufacturing, and a culture built on precision and quality. That foundation mattered more than the numbers. The problem is that our modern financial system constantly blurs this distinction, and that confusion benefits those in power. Governments prefer citizens who focus on account balances, not resilience. Corporations prefer consumers chasing financial products instead of durable skills and assets. The more you confuse wealth with value, the easier you are to control. This isn't new. In ancient Rome, senators were powerful not because of coins, but because they controlled grain, oil, and trade routes. When the denarius was debased, coin holders lost purchasing power. Asset holders kept influence. The same principle saved people during hyperinflations and market crashes centuries later. Most people never achieve real financial freedom because they chase accumulation without asking a deeper question. What is this wealth actually built on? If your entire livelihood depends on a salary, a market index, or a currency you don't control, your security is thinner than it looks. Real freedom comes from reducing that dependency. In practice, that means holding different forms of value: productive assets, useful land, tools and technology, skills that stay relevant under pressure, relationships that still matter when systems fail. History shows us this over and over. The people who look the wealthiest are often the most exposed. When conditions change, appearances collapse first. Wealth without value is a sandcastle. And this is where the real opportunity lies. Understanding the difference between wealth and value isn't just academic. It's the line between surviving economic storms and being swept away by them. The same forces that ruined French nobles, collapsed Wall Street in 1929, and deflated Japan's bubble are still at work today, just in modern form. If you learn to see the difference, you stop chasing illusions and start building something that lasts. Something no crash, policy shift, or devaluation can easily take from you. That's the real lesson history keeps trying to teach. Wealth is not what you've been told it is. Numbers can be manipulated. Value is harder to fake. And when the illusions fade, value is what remains. If this gave you a new perspective and you found it valuable, like the video and subscribe to the channel.